Cathie Wood is the founder of Ark Invest, which has exploded in popularity over the past couple years. When it comes to Cathie Wood, there's basically two types of people. You either love her or you hate her. Her main fund, ARKK, went from lows of around $33 back in 2020 all the way up to highs of almost $160, and now it's right back down to the mid-30s. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of her very bold assumptions, and Hunter is pretty opinionated when it comes to Cathie Wood. So, she actually holds some decent companies, but there are some problems. There are some big problems at Ark Invest. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Hunter, what's your opinions on Cathie? I know you're very opinionated.
Yes. So there are probably going to be people who click on this video who love Cathie Wood, and those who hate her. I would just say, at least listen to the whole thing, because I'm sure with some critical thinking skills, what is laid out is going to make you go, wait a second, this makes no sense. But what we hear, Mike, is that, oh, she has more money than you. You know who else who had more money than me? Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein had more money than me. So what does that mean? That's terrible. Yeah. So what a terrible... Bernie Madoff had more money than me, and he was a fraud.
True.
So what a terrible, terrible argument. Her investing process or whatever she does is just throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks, and then she comes out, makes ridiculously stupid claims to try to justify what she did so that the people that she scammed effectively keep putting money in, so she just gets the fee. And so we'll start with the Zoom one because it's brand new. She said Zoom. I had it pulled up. I have her actual model, valuation model from it. That the bear case is a price target of 700, and this is by 2026, and the bull case is a price target of $2,000, which is ridiculous. That is so stupid. And here's why it's stupid. Because in it, she says that the revenue is going to increase from $4 billion to $70 billion by 2026. That is like a 1,650% increase in revenue in 4 years. Does that make sense to anybody? No, it doesn't. They didn't increase that much in revenue, I don't think, when the world was shut down and they forced you to use it. They forced you to use it. And this is another level of stupidity. And this is why I have such a big problem with it. Because if she was stupid on her own, with her own money, and she was quiet about it, like she wasn't so goddamn loud and they didn't put her on the news, I wouldn't have a problem. But she's on CNBC, right? And then anybody, just a normal person, goes, Sally's watching, she just got done watching The Real Housewives of fucking Argentina, and she plops up, oh, let's watch CNBC. Oh, honey, we gotta get in on some of these Cathie Wood picks. She says it's gonna be 87% compounded returns in the next 4 years. Fast forward 4 years, Sally's selling alpaca fur gloves on the side of the street because her husband divorced her, took the kids, took the house. He won in court because she was obviously insane for believing this shit. So now she just ruined Sally's entire life. She has nothing left. She's selling gloves on the side of the street because she listened to this. That is why I don't like Cathie Wood. Okay, so and now we go on She thinks that not only are they going to increase their revenue 1,650% in 4 years, but their average revenue per user is also going to increase 280% in the same time. No, it is not. And it's going to trade at a higher price to sales ratio than it does now. When if it had that kind of growth potential in right now, it would have a way higher price to sales right now. The reason it doesn't is because the market knows that this is not going to happen. That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And she comes out and says the gross margins are also going to increase significantly. not all these things are not going to happen. They might increase, but their revenue isn't going to increase that much. Their gross margins probably aren't going to increase that much. And their average revenue per user is not going to increase that much in 5 years. It's just simply not going to happen. And what the reason for this being they even published this is because they bought it at the peak. They bought Zoom at the peak. They called it the unified communications of the future. Zoom wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for the actual unified communications of the future. If computers and phones did not exist, Zoom wouldn't exist. So calling it the unified communications of the future is in a different realm of stupidity on its own. So that's Zoom.
Yeah, and like the thing is, like, I own Zoom. I don't know about you, Hunter, but I own Zoom. I like Zoom. I believe in Zoom. I don't plan on selling Zoom anytime in the future, but the assumptions that she's making are just ridiculous. It's just they're just insane. You know what I mean? Like, even as a Zoom shareholder, I'm looking at those assumptions and it's just like, come on, you know?
Yeah. At some point in history, Zoom might have a $680 billion market cap, like she says here. It is not going to be in 4 years. And if it is, it's not going to be maintained and it's not going to be justified. That is so close to being impossible, the revenue increase that she has in this. And she says that there's a 25% chance. No shot. Where are you coming up with these numbers? You're just pulling them out of nowhere. That's crazy. I could make up numbers for anything. Mike, there's a 25% chance in 2026 I'm going to bench 750 pounds. How did I get that number? Do I look like I can bench 750 pounds? No. It's not going to happen. So it's just to justify her terrible investments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and why do you think she's doing this? You know, because I think the main reason she's making these very bold assumptions is because she doesn't want people who are currently invested into her fund to sell out because it makes her look terrible, and she doesn't want her investors to lose confidence. At the same time, she needs a reason to justify buying Zoom at such a insane valuation to begin with.
Yeah, I think she wants to stay relevant, and the only way that she can, now that her funds suck and everybody realizes how ridiculously stupid she is to say even dumber things. She comes out and says even dumber things. And then on the off chance that one of them happens, she's going to be like all over again. And then the other is to get people who don't know any better to buy her fund so she can get the fee, because she really doesn't care if her fund goes up or down. She's living off the fees. It's fine for her. But this brings me to another level of stupidity that she spouted the other day. May 22nd, May 22. She said that for artificial general intelligence, okay, within 6 to 12 years, breakthroughs in AGI could accelerate growth in GDP from 3 to 5% a year to 30 to 50% per year. In 6 to 12 years, the U.S. GDP is going to be 30 trillion. If she's talking global, it's even fucking dumber. It's even dumber. So I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. If she's talking about the U.S. GDP, then it's going to be 30 trillion. Then the next year, 45 trillion. And then, 67.5 trillion? I don't know the numbers exactly, but I'm pretty sure that's what that. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't make sense because it's insane. Okay? So, Exhibit 2. Let's go on. She said we were going to have deflation and not inflation. You know what happened? We got bent over and our cheeks spread by inflation immediately for a year and a half. And then she's like, oh, I guess I missed the mark. You think? You think you missed the mark? We're getting railed. And then oil. Oil's going to $12 a barrel, she says. Oil's going to 12. Yeah. Off by a factor of 10, Cathie. Okay? Because over a factor of 10, because it was at 130. So you really have to go out. It's one thing if you're wrong, right? But being that so wrong unbelievably wrong. Like, and being so vocal and not using common sense too, and she acts like it's such an obvious thing. Oh, our research said, what is your research? I want to see her research because I don't think that it's real. I really think that they're just making stuff up, and then they say they have these like simulations, and that's where they get these numbers from. I call bullshit. I don't believe there's a simulation. And if there is a simulation, this is what I think it is. They go into the break room. Okay, give me some fucking numbers here because we're getting crushed out there. We gotta get our investors to think we're doing something in here, and then we'll put it in. We'll put it in a little graph. We'll put the gross margins. We'll put the financial terms in. People think we're smart, and we'll publish it, and we'll be wrong again. But we'll give them 4 years. We'll give them 4 years, and then in a few months, when it's obvious that how stupid we were, we're just going to push it out another 4 years. She's been saying 5-year horizon for the past 2 years, but every year she moves it out another 5 years. But let's address the 2025-year horizon you guys were giving us, or whatever. Beginning of 2021, 15% annualized returns. Fell 80%. Her in a year, her fund. Okay, but then later that year, she said, it was like a few months later, she said, actually, we're expecting 25% annualized returns right now. It fell 70% from there. And then December, she said 40%. It fell like another 60% from there. And then in April of this year, she said 50% annual returns for the next 5 years. No. You're just pushing it back and back and back. It's just not going to happen. At some point, somebody on the news, on CNBC, it might end up being Kramer because he wants someone to be dumber than him. I think it might end up being him. He's going to call her out. He's going to be like, this is absurd because he sucks. He's probably dumber than her, if we're being honest. But he doesn't want to be the dumbest, so I bet it's going to be him.
Yeah, I saw the other day Kramer, like when Cathie was doing great, Kramer was talking about how Cathie's such a genius and all this stuff. And then once all of her holdings started to fall, he said Cathie was like dumb and he was like shit talking her. So like he totally flipped on her.
Oh yeah, of course. And the thing that's funny about that is I don't think I've ever seen Kramer say something and have it actually happen. Like he is just as bad as Cathie. Except he doesn't publish fake bullshit research. Like, he just says it. He says it without putting in the work of making fake valuation models. And he's not as well spoken, and his jowls flap, and she doesn't. She's well put together. He's not. So that's the only difference. Let's see. Yeah. I have this she said the target return is much higher today because the price of her stocks are down so much. A year ago, we thought our portfolio would deliver a 15% compound annual rate of return. Now we think 50.
50?
50% compounded annual returns for the next 5 years.
What?
And then she said that truly disruptive innovation is going to move up in the public markets from 10 trillion today to 210 trillion in 2030 in 8 years. Where are you coming up with these numbers? They're not even remote. What is the global GDP? Is it like 90 trillion? I don't know what it is, but that's bullshit. And then look at her fund. In what truly disruptive, you have Roku. You have Roku's like her second or third biggest holding. She had Teladoc, which got cut in half on earnings. And then all the rest of them, she's down on like 95% of her fund. These are not truly innovative companies. This is not disruptive innovation. Roku's disruptive innovation. Heard of Apple TV? Heard of any other type of, like, these are it. And then she said, this is what I love. She said, crypto platform blockchain.com's valuation nearly tripled over the past year from 5.2 billion to 14 billion. And yet the market value of Coinbase, one of Ark's top holdings, declined 40% in the same period. It makes no sense, exclaimed Cathie Wood. It does make sense. What doesn't make sense is you paying the valuations that you did with no basis behind them, and then you're shocked. You're shocked. Mike, if I sold you a coffee mug for 100 grand, and then you went down the road and somebody was like, "I'll give you $20 for it," you're like, "What the fuck? This is this makes no sense."
Yeah.
That's the same thing she just did. That's how stupid it is.
So, like, the thing is, like, I think we could agree that some of our holdings, like the companies, are good, right? The main problem with some of these companies is just the price is paid, right? Like, some of the companies that she's holding, I'm a fan of, and are growing and have potential, but it's just like when you pay ridiculous valuations for them, it's like that's where one of the big problems comes into place.
Yes, a lot of her companies have potential. Potential is not guaranteed. And when you pay, she paid for all that potential. She paid for potential like decades down the line for some of these. Like she's not gonna, and then she averaged down with tens of millions, and she's still down like 70% on most of her holdings. Like that's how bad it is. That's how much she overpaid. If you're down 50%, you have to go up 100% just to break even. So when you're down 70-80% on your holdings, especially on the cusp of a recession, which cusp I say, I feel like, the amount of time that it's going to take to recover, barring some miracle short squeeze in every single one of her stocks, is crazy. Which brings me to her Tesla.
Uh-oh.
Her best performing, basically her only good performing stock, if we're being honest. This is insane. Expected value price target trajectory for Tesla, 2026 to 2030. 2030, like $22,500. $22,500 would give it a market cap, if they don't continue to dilute shareholders, which they do, and they probably will continue. And the reason they do is because it's free money for them, because their stock's overvalued. If it wasn't overvalued, and if Cathie believed this bullshit herself, she wouldn't be selling all her shares to buy GM. So
true.
Yeah. So not only that, but if they don't dilute any shareholders, say they don't, things change. Yeah. That would give them a market cap of $22.5 trillion in 2030. The US GDP right now is like that. It's 23 trillion. If that doesn't open your eyes, if you believe in Cathie Wood and you hear that and you don't see how stupid that sounds, give your money to charity. Give your money to charity, because you're gonna either give it to charity or you're gonna give it to the market. But you're not getting it back. Either way, you're not getting it back.
Damn. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, Hunter, let's say I'm someone who invested into Ark when it was near its high, and you convinced me that, maybe it's not a good idea to be holding an Ark fund. Do I just sell out now? Do I, like what's the move?
You just go on to flipacoin.com and assign assign sell and assign hold the one, and just, because at this point, her, like, I say this, I'm going to say this, how much more could she lose? But really, a lot. Like, if it goes from 30 or 40 right now to like 20, that's another 50%. Like, so if you bought it right now saying, oh, it's so low, how much lower could it go? And somebody bought it at like 80 and you bought it at 40 and it goes to 20, you're really not that much better off percent loss wise. Like, it's still a huge percent loss. So I'm not going to give anybody advice on what they should do with their money, but I would just proceed with caution on any future Cathie Wood words, because it's like she has a competition it's like she has a bet with somebody on how stupid of a thing she can say without losing a following. Like, how far do you think I can push the realms of reality before I lose my following? But she doesn't. She doesn't lose her following. It's crazy to me. Like, what is happening? It is just basic common sense, and I don't want to hear shit about her having more money than me. I don't care. Hitler had more money than me. Mao had more money than me. Bernie Madoff had more money. The Wolf of Wall Street had more money than me. And guess what? All scumbags.
Yeah. I can tell you're really going to trigger some people with this video. I can
I
see
don't
the comments now.
Yeah, I'm gonna. But here's the thing. In 10 years, they're going to be like, I wish I listened to that kid. Because he could have saved me. They're all going to be getting hair transplants because they're going to be devastated for the next 10 years watching their investments suck ass because they're following Cathie Wood. And then they're going to have no friends or family because they're all going to leave them because they're just absorbed in this alternate reality of bullshit that Cathie Wood spews. And then they try to justify it with, oh, but look at how beautiful this graph they made is. They must have done it on something like Excel. This is fantastic. Like, paying Zoom users 180 million in 2026. Where'd they get that number? Nobody knows. They literally could have just hit random number generator and gotten it and been like, oh shit, let's use this. That's how ridiculous these are.
Oh, gosh.
I'm just looking at it and it just gets worse and worse every time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough.
87% compounded annual return she expects for Zoom in the next 4 years. Why is her whole entire portfolio not in Zoom?
True.
If the bear case is 49%, does that make sense to any human on the planet that a bear case is 5 times more than the historical market returns? That does not make sense.
No. The bear case, Hunter.
The bear case.
Like, meaning,
Ridiculous.
in the worst case scenario. Like, literally, that's what it's saying. In the worst case
it's
scenario, it's going to beat the market by 5 times every single year.
Her base case was $1,500 a share, which is double the bear case. So, how insane is the base case? A base case should hit like 80% of the time. And she assigned it with like 50% of the time, which just, again, shows her stupidity. But that's what it is. I mean, there's just nothing realistic about this. And then under, there's a disclaimer like, you could still lose your money. Yeah, no shit. If you believe this, you are going to lose all your money investing. Because if somehow this works out, the other things that you believe will not. And I'm saying, like, not, oh, maybe I'll hit 30%. No, you will hit 1 out of 100,000. If you invest on these assumptions of 1,650% revenue growth in 4 years from a company that already had like its best case scenario happen, you will never ever make money in your life in the market. Never.
Yeah. And like, I feel like everyone can agree that, sometimes you buy a stock when it's overvalued and sometimes you make a mistake and you lose in the market, right? Happened to you before. It happened to me before. Everyone makes mistakes. The biggest problem is that, at least in my opinion, like let's say Cathie Wood with Zoom, if you buy it and you bought it overvalued and it was a mistake, instead of saying, you know what, I made a mistake, it's not going to happen in the future, when you just make ridiculous assumptions, like you said, with a bear case of a 50% return every single year for the next couple of years, it's like that's a problem. It's everyone makes mistakes, but it's like, come on,
It's like I tripped and fell on it. That's what it is. That's like that kind of excuse. Like, oh, okay, right, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've heard that one before.
Yeah. So
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So, Hunter, do you have any final thoughts? Do you want to close this video out with?
Yes, I do. I hope that a bunch of Cathie lovers clicked on this video and that I saved your financial future. That's all I hope. Or I hope that you at least had something click at how absurd these are. She might have a team of analysts. She might have her own funds. That doesn't mean they're good. They suck. They're terrible. And that, in just the most, like, just basic common sense critical thinking terms, just outlaying, like, oh, really? It's going to have a market cap more than the US GDP? Oh, the global GDP is going to go up 50% a year? Right. Okay, yeah, that's pretty stupid. And then you say, oh, what else is she saying that's stupid? And then you look at her comments and you go, oh my God, everything. It's like trying to find an intelligent statement by Cathie Wood is like trying to find a diamond in a pile of shit. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to find something intelligent. She just says, she repeats things that her analysts tell her or whatever, and maybe it sounds intelligent, like when she's talking about the DNA stuff. I'm a biomedical engineer, and I can tell you that she's wrong on almost 100% of the stuff she says.
Uh-oh. Alrighty, well, if you guys like this video, make sure to subscribe. If you agree with us, if you disagree with us, let us know in the comments down below. I'm actually very curious to hear some of these comments, Hunter. I'm actually really curious.
I'm excited for someone to try to tell me about the DNA stuff that I'm wrong. And I just want, I'm waiting for it. Oh, it's going to be some kid. Oh, you have no idea what you're talking about. Cathie Wood said, and her analysts. Fuck her analysts. They're stupid. They're not biomedical engineers either. I guarantee it. They're business analysts.
Yep. Alrighty, well, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe. Besides that, have a great weekend.